Prime Minister, the Ombudsman, Parliament's information police, has written to you seeking assurances about what Dr. Gaurav Sharma has called alleged information cover-ups by your office. So Dr. Sharma says that your MPs were taught how to avoid public scrutiny via the Official Information Act. And he sent us a meeting agenda from August the 8th, which is where Dr. Sharma claims it all went down, this panel where the MPs were taught how to avoid the OAA. He alleges that part of the session in question was around avoiding queries to ministers' offices directly and instead sending them to subject matter experts in the Labor leader's office who would then have a chat with ministers' offices through back channels if needed. Is that true? Did that happen at that meeting, as he claims?
So the reason I'm smiling is because the agenda that you've got in front of you demonstrates what we've been saying all along. So you can see in that there was a session, even I had a session, this was the class of 2020. They run professional development sessions, which is fantastic and is actually one of the things that we've been trying to do to better support our new members of Parliament. I had a session at the beginning of the evening. There were, I think, 2 other sessions and a dinner in between. And one of those sessions was around how do you engage with ministerial officers, because of course there are staff in there who are public servants, they're not political appointees. You've got to be really careful that they aren't put in compromising positions by being asked questions by our backbench in good faith, but not realising the very clear lines that they have. So understanding when do you go to the Labor leader's office, when can you go directly to a minister's office. It's also really important that all our MPs as well understand where the OIA applies to them, because for constituency matters, it doesn't. But understanding that, so if your constituent, for instance, ever says, will my information be released? Can you deal with this case privately? Understanding where those rules apply and don't, that's actually just what we need to make sure our MPs understand. The final point I'll make, Ryan, I think if I was the Ombudsman and I heard a meeting characterised in the way that it was inaccurately by Gaurav, I would probably have written that letter too. So I understand that, but we've given a response, not only with an assurance, but we're also making sure that we're sharing just all of the work that we've done to make sure that we not just fulfil our obligations, but we go further than that. We now proactively release ministers' diaries, we proactively release cabinet papers, all in an effort to actually be better at fulfilling our obligations under the Official Information Act.
Will you release the slides, the slideshow, so that we can see?
Will I release the slides?
Yeah.
Look, I don't even know. Of course, I wasn't present for all of those sessions. And one of the concerns I've had is that actually allegations keep being made about individual staff members who are just doing their job. So I won't make any commitments there unless, well, actually, including to ensure that people's individual names, which there hasn't been much respect for in this process, are cared for. Because we keep in mind, the only reason we're in this situation at the moment is because Dr. Sharma has not appreciated some of the efforts that are being made to intervene when concerns in his office have been raised. That is ultimately why we are talking about this issue.
Sure thing. So here's the problem that I've got, is he's made some very specific claims. These are some of your most senior staff. You've just admitted you weren't in the session in question.
Wrong, and I think it's really, really objectionable that staff who are just doing their jobs without having right of reply keep having their names thrown around. That's not the kind of workplace I think we should create, and nor is it something I think MPs should do to their staff.
Well, I haven't used any names in this session. I haven't even said any job titles.
No, I accept that.
But my question to you is, you weren't in the meeting, you weren't in the session, so you don't know what happened in it. Have you gone to these people to ask exactly what was said and how it was phrased?
I've had it described to me, and that is what I'm relaying.
Right. So he's lying. He's made it up.
Look, I've never in this situation where repeated allegations have been made thought that it would be beneficial for anyone to get into a tit for tat. And so that's why instead, Ryan, we've kept the door open. We've kept the door open for Gaurav to rebuild trust with his team, to come back into a place where we can all focus on doing our jobs. I'm mindful that you're asking me questions here involving one MP, one individual, when I'm surrounded here at a time where hundreds of people have lost their homes. This should not be anyone's focus right now. We should be going into
Prime Minister,
mediation to resolve it in the proper place and in the proper way.
Prime Minister,
and it's disappointing that that offer has not been taken up.
Yeah, OK, Prime Minister, obviously what's happened in Nelson is a very serious situation, but to imply that we shouldn't be asking you about very serious accusations about your office on the basis that there has been a tragedy in Nelson, I think most people would find a little shady.
No, no, no. If I may, you misunderstand. That my point was to an MP to not take up the opportunity to go into mediation. That's where we should be dealing with these issues.